But on the resource side, imagine that you are not allowed to add a resource to any task until you have been asking for permission, so to speak. In that context, we typically talk about resource management processes, and how that can be done in the Power Platform in this case is by connecting it through to our tool called Team Planner, sitting in Azure at Cosmos DB, which is super fast and allows the project manager to go in here, see a time-phased grid. They can configure what time-phased data they want to look at, or granularity, days, weeks, months. Let's take weeks, just switches it to weeks. Let's go back to months, like this. They can also configure if they want to work in FTEs or hours. So if now they're ready to work in hours and months, we can then go to the right-hand side and pull in, for instance, an entire team of developers and request towards that team, request an agile team, or request on a certain role saying, I would like a BI consultant from team PK, and pull in that role. It's not a person yet, it's a role. Same thing for consultants. I'm gonna add this person like this. Let's pause there for a moment. Then we can go in and say in August, I need 50 hours of consulting, if I could get it, 100 hours in September, and 150 in October. And down here, I need 50, 50, 30, whatever. We can also add some comments. Person should speak German, like this, which goes through to the line manager, or the team lead at some point. See the total request, and we can also see the A column allocated. We haven't been given any resources yet, so it's a request. We can move stuff ahead in time. I can even do scenarios. I can find available capacity without asking anyone. We can pull that info in real time. And we can even get suggested proposals for who you should use, sort of by data, so a real data-driven example. And then work packages. So you can go in and select based on an existing resource plan. Could be an implementation like we're using in Projektum, how you want to build that house or whatever it is, and then you get a predefined structure and resource request where the only thing you have to do is add the start date, and it moves the entire thing. So let's just pause this for now, and imagine that this is your resource request. Now you need someone to actually go in and give you those resources. So this is where I'm going to take my hat off as a project manager and try to act as a resource manager just quickly right now. In this case, they can use this tool. We could just show that from embedded inside the Power App like this. And we also have some who prefer to use that data from sort of a Teams context or as a full screen experience like this one, because typically you want to see lots of data if you're a resource manager. Of course, that's possible. So if this was the case, let me just refresh the grid here. Then I log in as the view of a line manager. As a line manager, I typically want this menu bar available up here because I can do a whole lot of things. For instance, look at overall planning activities across my team and see in real time how much are they working. Also filter by specific people like myself, Peter. So I'm engaged for 2 different projects over the next many months. I can click on other people's names and see the same thing happening. So this is a way of managing and balancing out if people are over or under allocated. But let's get back to the allocation view. So on the left side here, I see all projects impacting my division. That's why we see a webinar 2021 idea down here. If I click on that, I see that there's a request from my business unit of 2 resources that can deliver these hours in this period of time. So on the right-hand side, I can actually go in and see by name the available resources, also by role. Depending on how you set this up, it's completely configurable. So I can actually go in and say consultants. Let's take Andreas, he's allocated 41%, so let's pull him in. And when I drop him there, the coolest thing I believe is that we can actually see even before we work with him that he is actually in a deficit in August. So if you add him 50 hours, he's now minus 100 almost in free capacity. Same thing goes here, same thing goes there. So we can meet the request, but only by over allocating him, which is probably not very cool. So to fix that problem, you can click on his name and see again all the stuff he's working on. So to balance this out would mean letting go of other engagements. For instance, this one, maybe this one. So now it's in the surplus, and the same thing here. There we go. And maybe here we can just set this to 5. and balance him out there as well. So when we go back to the project we came from, he's still allocated to it, but he's not over allocated as a person. So a pretty complex thing sometimes to solve in those tools that are currently available, I believe, especially in Excel. And in my opinion, fairly easy to do in this tool because it's drag and drop all the way, no save, no publish, it's just there. And this means that the project manager now will be notified typically via an email, but also they can go into their project here, of course, the webinar idea, search for it, open it up, and on the resource side, see that they have been given people by name now. Let's just change the view to project manager like this. So I have been given Andreas, and then for some that can trigger that they are now allowed to go in and add him to the timeline. We could also do the opposite, that the project plan here actually triggers the creation of a resource request. So it's connected, so both directions. So that was a little bit about the resource part.